Umpires and their rules. Most of the time, I hate them with the same burning intensity that you do. But then, there are some instances where umpires, with all their flaws, and laws with all their unnecessary looking, illogical seeming bylaws, together show me exactly why umpires are still required in the game. So the story begins on 18th February 2010. South Africa was touring India for a 2-test, 3 ODI series. And to the shock and awe of the world, they defeated India in the first test. It wasn't just a defeat, but a crushing defeat by an inning and 6 runs. As you may guess, tempers were flayed, nerves were frayed, and India was out for blood. In the second test, in the first inning, Sehwag, Tendulkar, Lakshman and Dhoni all scored a century, posting a mammoth total of 643 runs. And South Africa crumbled to 284 for 9 in their final inning. India was on the cusp of victory with 2 clear problems. Problem number 1, there were only 4 overs to go on the final day of the match, and problem number 2, Hashim Amla, who had scored a century in the first inning, was still on the crease. So, we needed that wicket desperately. If we couldn't get it, then it would be just the third time since 1990 that we would have lost a test series on Indian soil. We had not lost a single home series for the past 6 years. On top of that, India and South Africa were in a near deadlock for the top of ICC test ranking. And after the first defeat, we desperately needed a win to hold on to the number 1 spot. In short, the pressure was on. And on the 5th ball of the 4th to the last over, it had its effect. Hashim Amla, after defending the first 4 balls, hit the 5th one to the boundary and quickly took 1 run, making sure that he can face the next over. The ball had stopped just near the boundary. Even this frame, right now, is tricky as hell. The ball is so close to the boundary that the umpire would have to go to the third umpire to check its validity. And if it has not touched, then the fielder needs to be very careful while picking it up, making sure that he doesn't touch the boundary. Even if he doesn't directly touch it, but the ball touches the hand and the hand touches the boundary, it would still be a 4. And as all of this was going on, Sehwag leaned over and kicked the ball over the boundary. Yeah, he simply kicked the ball over thinking that now it's a 4. So Amla goes back to the striker's end and maybe we can get Mokel on the batting end in the next over. But there was one thing that even Sehwag with his 20 years of cricketing experience didn't know. Neither did anyone on the ground or the commentary box. There were rules. Not just one, but 2 different rules. And numerous bylaws that could be applied in this exact situation. Now this isn't the rule book that we follow today, the 2016 revision, but the 2000 revision of MCC laws, in which the first law that could be applied here was law 19.7. If the boundary results from an overthrow or from a willful act of the fielder, the run scored shall be any runs for the penalty and the allowance for the boundary and the runs completed by the batsman, together with the runs in progress if they had already crossed at the instant of the throw. So in this case, when Sehwag willfully kicked the ball, the batsman had already crossed. And then there was the second rule, law 41.2. A fielder may field the ball with any part of his body, but if he willfully doesn't field the ball, then straight away the ball becomes dead. Then the umpire shall be awarding 5 penalty runs to the batting side. Any of the runs that were completed would be credited to the batting side, and then both the captains would be informed. Furthermore, the umpires together shall report the occurrence as soon as possible to the governing body. Now, both of these rules can be applied in this exact situation. So which exact rule to apply? As you may have guessed, there is another law, law 42.2. according to which umpires are to be the sole judge of fair and unfair play. And if at any point during the game if any of the umpire feels an action to be unfair, he can intervene without appeal. In this case, even though no side had raised objection to that 4, the umpire himself decided that that amounted to unfair play, and then decided to apply law 41.2 rather than 19.2. Now, the procedure of how these penalty runs are to be given is further stated in another bylaw, namely 42.17.c and 42.18. Completing all of this procedure took 5 minutes. But by the time those 5 minutes were done, Hashim Amla remained on the non-striker's end. They were awarded 5 runs penalty on top of that, and Sehwag was reported to the match referee. In short, everything backfired, as it should have, because of the rules in place. Rules that were in place even before something like this could be pulled off, and hence things could be dealt with cleanly, making sure that there was no grumbling or mutterings when India actually went on to win the game with 9 balls left in the bank. India drew the series, maintained its 6 years unbeaten run, and cemented its place at the top of the ICC Test rankings. So as much as I hate rules and umpires sometimes, situations like this, which require understanding context of the situation, to understand human behavior, to understand the grey areas of an action, those places still require an umpire to stand judge, jury, and if required, as in this case, the executioner.